Everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster3, and of course, this is time. Of course, that sounds weird, but it's time for another update video. And I know it's been a while since I made one, I believe. Maybe it was like now I was thinking about it, I think it was only like 1 week or 2 weeks, but yeah, what the hell. Now let's begin with the films that I picked up. Now, the first one, I'm not too sure if I've already showed you this before in an other update video, but the only Blu-ray of this update, and the movie is Frightmare, which is part of the H8 Films slasher classics collection. Most of these, not most of these, but some of these slasher films releases from H8 Films I do not have in this label or in this series or whatever, because I already had them in other releases from other companies, so I don't really feel the need to double dip on double dip on some of those titles. So yeah, that's the reason why. But yeah, Frightmare. This is from 1983, I believe. So yeah, the early 80s one. Then we have a film called The Hitman with Chuck Norris. Apparently this release is really hard to come across. I had to pay a little bit more for it. But yeah, Chuck Norris is always Chuck Norris, and I believe this might be a Canon film as well. This is from the early 90s, so just in the end of Canon films, so to say. So yeah, The Hitman. Then we have another film which I'm not really sure if I've showed you before or not, but Flight of the Navigator, some family film from the 80s, I believe. Then some action with, I've heard that people have described this as like Mad Max with Patrick Swayze. So yeah, Steel Dawn. Yeah, I think I actually, now when I think of it, I think I might already have this film. So yeah, well, that's how it goes sometimes. Then we have, let's see here, a comedy film. This is an old Anchor Bay release. I'm a big fan of Anchor Bay in general, and especially some of these older releases, because some of them are really hard to come across as well. So, but this is a film directed by Bob Clark, who's probably most famous for Black Christmas, Porky's, Death Dream, which I unfortunately haven't seen yet. But yeah, this is a film called Turk 182 or Turk 128 or something. Yeah, sort of picked up because it was like an Anchor Bay. And this looks really interesting. I really love this cover art. DEFCON 4 Defense Condition. Yeah, looks really awesome in my opinion. Then we have a film with Wings Hauser from the early 80s. Some action crime film, I believe, called Vice Squad. Not really sure if you pronounce it like that, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. Now I think the rest of the films here in this update video is going to be horror movies, or at least like horror or horror related. So yeah, and first up we have a double feature. MGM presents Midnight Movies, The Comedy of Terrors and The Raven, both of which has Vincent Price in it, and I think yeah, also Boris Karloff, so which is really interesting. And Peter Lorre, I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, but he was in that film, that Alfred Hitchcock film called The Man Who Knew Too Much, I believe. So yeah, really big fan of Vincent Price in general, and also Boris Karloff, so that's going to be a really interesting film to watch, or films to watch, because it was a double feature. So yeah, then we have a really weird double feature here. Bloodthirsty Butchers and The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Here, which is probably some really low budget films from the 70s, and yeah, probably some cheesy stupid fun. So yeah, sorry for the glare, I'm doing my best. I'm not really sure if we can do it like this instead, so you might be able to see a little bit better. Now, the last films in this update video are all Code Red releases, and I sort of collect those Code Red releases in general, because just like Anchor Bay, some of those releases seems to be really hard to come across, so whenever I see them anywhere, I sort of pick them up. So yeah, and then we have the first one. We have God's Bloody Acre, or Acre, I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, but according to the seller that sold this to me, this film, or like this particular release, got like pulled from the shelves for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but something about the guy who owns Code Red sort of like flipped out about this for some reason, so it got pulled from the shelves and didn't get a whole lot of releases released of this film. But I know there's another release of this which has like another film, a double feature, which I think is the most common one, and I don't really remember that other film, but yeah, God Spare the Acre, or Acre, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that either, but yeah. And then we have Slithis, almost dropped it there. Some creature feature or monster film from the late 70s, and I'm a big fan of monster movies in general as well, so this might be really hilarious, stupid fun. So yeah, Slithis. Then a film which I realized that I had in my collection, but I don't think I've showed it in any of my update videos. So yeah, a film called The Devil Times 5, and apparently this is one of the very first Code Red releases, because I think this came out in 2006 or 2007. So yeah, Devil Times 5. So yeah, and the last one is a film which I've never heard about before, and I was like, well, 80s vampires, well, that sounds like a great film to me, because that seems to be a really great combo with me. I mean, vampires in the 80s, almost like I liked all of those films with vampires in the 80s, all of them that I've seen so far. I've been a big fan of. So yeah, but this movie is called Vampire at Midnight. Yeah, this is a really weird cover art, I must say. Like a bald man here. Not that it's like any wrong of being bald, but I just didn't get the whole thing with the cover art at first. I was like, well, there's this woman here and it's like blood, but what the hell is that biting her? And then I realized, oh, it was a bald man on the front cover. So yeah. Once again, this one is a complete blind buy. I knew nothing about this, but I was like, well, vampires 80s, gotta have it. So yeah, Vampire at Midnight. Now, some of these titles I might have already showed you in any of my previous update videos, because yeah, sometimes that's gonna happen when there's been a while since you made an update video. So yeah, yeah, keep your eyes open for the next video. Probably gonna continue with that year thing with the horror films from the 80s, like top 10 list, and I will try to get to some horror reviews in October as well, because it's the horror month, and I'm probably gonna have my annual horror-thon by only watching horror films in that month. So yeah, hope everyone enjoyed and didn't get bored, and I hope to see you again as soon as possible. So see you next time. Bye bye.